Klay Thompson just got through the worst stretch of his career, scoring 41 against the Rockets. But it was so bad, even his teammates were calling him out. The lowest part was their second beatdown against the Suns. Game close in the third. Klay catches it with Jordan Poole wide open from three. Draymond's got Cameron Payne on him. Klay, instead of passing, bricks a three. Next possession, somehow Steph gets a stop on DeAndre Ayton. Klay again with Wiggs open in the corner. Takes a contested three and misses. This time, Draymond is done. Look at his body language. Klay went 6 for 17 in that game, which is his new normal apparently. It was obvious who Steph was talking about after the game.
Whatever the sacrifice might look like out on the court when you're out there in your minutes, you can't obsess about the stat sheet and what it looks like, because that's not how the game is played. You can't kind of will yourself into whatever that night you might want if you're not really focused on winning.
Steph is not going to call out his friend in the media, but you can't will yourself to the stats you want? Think he's talking about himself? No, Steph dropped 50 that night. He's talking about Klay. Then he played 2 great games against the Knicks and 41 points against the Rockets. So why is everyone so worried? Because before bullying crappy teams, Klay was horrible. And look, I'm not trying to beat up on Klay. I'm not saying that this is how he's going to play now, but it's important to know why people were so worried. Stat true shooting percentage takes into account 2s and 3s. True shooting in the upper 50s is average, 60 plus efficient. Steph Curry elite at 70, but Klay is at 48%, one of the worst shooters in the league. Steve Kerr actually did call him out, but there's nothing they can do. The Warriors need the old Klay Thompson, and to be fair, he finally had his first good game against the Knicks, but my worry is he's forcing it. Klay spent 2 years rehabbing an ACL and Achilles. When he came back, he didn't look like himself, but in the playoffs, he shot 38% from 3. Thought winning a chip would get people off his back, but it didn't. When the team started slow, people zoomed in on Klay. Charles Barkley went on national TV and said this:
because of age and injuries, he's not the same guy. That does not, and that happened. I wasn't worth a damn my last 2 years in the NBA.
Chuck is known for saying the uncomfortable truth out loud. That's why Klay was so defensive.
No duh, man. I tore my ACL and my Achilles in consecutive years and still help a team win a championship. Give me some freaking time to get that back and just hear someone say, oh, he's not the same as he was prior to the injuries. Like, duh. I don't know. It just hurt my heart hearing that.
Look, I think Klay is insecure about how he's playing. He wants to prove to the world and himself he still has it. So he's forcing the game, and it's hurting the team. I am not saying the way Klay started the season is their only problem. Think about this. They got 74 points from their Hall of Fame backcourt against Houston, still had to win a close game, tied 7 minutes to go. The Dubs are still in a lot of trouble. Apparently, Jordan Poole needs to be a starter to play like an all-star. Kuminga and Moody are barely in the rotation. James Wiseman banished to the G League, but Klay doesn't have that luxury. He can't go to the G League for a month. He's a Hall of Famer. It's not how it works. He has to fix his game in the NBA, which is awful. Klay takes the second most shots on Golden State, more than Andrew Wiggins and Jordan Poole. When he's shooting 35%, you want somebody else taking those shots, but they can't because they need Klay to get out of this slump. The first problem with this is defending their championship. If Klay is this bad, including on defense, they're not a contender. The second problem is his contract. Klay will be a free agent next offseason. A writer for the San Francisco Chronicle said, I personally would not be shocked if Klay just retired from basketball at the end of his contract. If he does retire in the near future, it would be after his contract ends. Whoa! I'm not even talking retirement. Klay called that guy a dumb.
If you write some dumb like that, just be held accountable, because like that's crazy.
He wants to keep playing, but if he wants to be a Warrior, it'll come with a huge pay cut. Don't be fooled by Klay's silly personality. Dude is a competitor. You don't want to get paid like Reggie Jackson. He's telling Booker he's got 4 chips, trash talking to his face. That guy doesn't have an ego? Now the salary cap is going to go up, but the Warriors are in a huge financial crunch. They paid Wiggins and Poole. Draymond's gonna be a free agent. Klay is either gonna make a lot less money or will be looking for a new team. Oh, but the Warriors owe it to Klay. He's one of the big three. They already did that. Right after he tore his ACL, they gave him 5 years, $200 million. That was the Dubs having Klay's back. Now it's Klay's turn. So is this the end of the Golden State Warriors? Is there a world where Draymond goes somewhere like the Pistons and Klay is a Laker? If he keeps playing like this, yes. But I don't think this is how Klay's gonna go out. He can fix this, and the number one sign is what happened after his awful game. The Warriors held a team meeting because Klay wanted to speak. He watched a lot of film and acknowledged how selfish he had been playing. The next night, he had a different approach. Yes, he came out and hit a couple quick threes. That's not what I'm talking about. The best part was early in the first, has a semi-contested shot that he would have taken before, but he passes to Kevon Looney instead. Look at how pumped the bench is. But the dagger play of the game started with Klay, who could have taken an early shot. Instead, it turns into ball movement back to Klay for an open, much more makeable shot. Klay came out and admitted he was in his head after the Rockets game. He said people like Charles Barkley actually made him play worse.
I really let the trolls get to me. Like, what am I doing? You know, like I had just a revelation where I was like, man, like just be you and everything will play out, and criticize me all you want, but I know how great I am and what I'm capable of, and I think real Warrior fans know that as well.
Then Steve Kerr said that's how the game is supposed to look. The Warriors designed their team around the Spurs, who Steve Kerr played for. The Spurs were known for beautiful ball movement and elite defense. In their last two finals runs, Spurs were #1 in assists, top 4 in defense. Now, look at how the Warriors played in their 4 championship years. #1 in assists, elite on D. So their problems are not solved with one good game by Klay. There is still a huge face-off coming about his contract, but Klay is the least of their worries if you look at their ranks this season. #1 in assists, 24th on defense. That plus a horrible bench is their actual problem. Losing coach Mike Brown might be a part of that defense, but they are wasting Steph Curry's best season. The man has career highs in points, field goal percentage, true shooting percentage, and rebounds. That is a huge statement for a unanimous MVP. The only solution is a trade, and I've heard some talking heads say, oh, they should trade Klay or Draymond. That is ridiculous. First, those players have a lot more value to Golden State. They would never get equal value back. Second, you think the Warriors defense is bad now? Wait till you see them without Draymond Green. The only players to trade are the young guys. Don't care if they're not playing well now. They have value. Remember the Lakers, Jordan Clarkson, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, all broke out after being traded because young guys need years to develop. The Dubs could get win-now vets for James Wiseman and Jonathan Kuminga. They will be good eventually, but not on the Warriors timeline. And if you want to know the perfect Warriors trade, check out this video about what's wrong with James Wiseman and how to fix it.